يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر ولله الحمد الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين علي ولي الله أشهد أن أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين عليا حجة الله حي على السلام حي على السلام حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على ولسان وشفاء ورسيدار وأولاد أبرار وجعلني جبر نبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم مستقر وقرار برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي كان موجودا قبل حدوث الأشياء ويبقى بعد فناء الأشياء تفرد بالأولية والقدم ووصم كل شيء ما أداه بالفناء والعدم كما قال شان كل شيء هالك إلا وجهه وكل نفس ذائقة الموت وقال كل من عليها فان ويبقى وجه ربك ذو الجلال والإكرام سبحان من لا يخفى لا اختلاف النيات ولا يعزب عنه مآسي العباد في الخلوات سبحان الله الذي منه خلقة العباد وإليه المعاد فمن يعمل مثقال ذرة خيرا يره ومن يعمل مثقال ذرة شرا يره نشهد أن لا إله إلا هو الملك الذي لا ينازع في ملكه ولا يضاد في حكمه يعذب من يشاء بما يشاء كيف يشاء ويرحم من يشاء بما يشاء كيف يشاء تعذيبه المسيئين عدل وعفو تفضل ونشهد أن محمدا سيد المرسلين وخير المبشرين والمنذرين صلى الله عليه وآله الهداة المهديين من ركب سفينة النجا واهتدى ومن تخلف عنها ضل فغرق وهوى أوصيكم عباد الله بالاعتصام بالتقوى فإنه حبل متين وعروة وثقى قد قال الله تبارك وتعالى وقوله الحق وهو أصدق القائلين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قول معروف ومغفرة خير من صدقة يتبعها أذى والله غني حليم صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I begin by advising myself and all of you to adopt the taqwa of Allah. This is the best of provisions. The verse that I recited is from Surah Baqarah, ayat number 263. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala advises mu'mineen by saying an honorable reply, qawlun ma'roof, in response to the needy, and forgiving their annoyance is better than a charity followed by affront. Allah is all sufficient and most forbearing. One of the sifat that is addressed in this particular ayah is the sifat of forbearance. Hilm says, Wallahu ghaniyun halim. We know what ghani means, that Allah is ghani, is self-sufficient. He is not in need of anyone or anything. But the fact that he is also mentioning the sifat of halim alongside with ghani, you don't think about the food, which is halim. Rather, you look at the sifat of halim is the forbearance, which is being mentioned over here. And similarly, we find in the kalam of Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam al-Muttaqeen, Ali ibn Abi Talib, in Nahjul Balagha, when Imam talks about the sifat of Muttaqeen, one of them in it, he mentions, وَأَمَّا النَّهَارُ فَعُلَمَاءُ أَبْرَارٌ أَتْقِيَاءٌ. That muttaqeen are those individuals who are during the day, they are enduring, learned, virtuous, and God-fearing. Ulama is translated as those who are forbearing and enduring. Endurance in front of the things that fall in front of you, difficulties that you may face and how you deal with them. And it could be someone who's opposing you for whatever reason, maybe legitimate reason or maybe wrongful reasons. Your reaction to that individual or that thing shows how much hilm you possess. Inshallah, we'll talk about this important aspect and this sifat that we must all have. So initially, we'll explain the quality of hilm, forbearance, as mentioned, and then its effects in humans' life. There are two explanations for hilm according to the linguistics. Number one, al-hilmu dhabtun nafsi an hayajan al-ghadab. So hilm has something to do with ghadab. Ghadab is anger. Says hilm is controlling the nafs from the disturbance caused by anger. So as I mentioned, someone insulted you, someone said something to you, someone went against you, plotted against you legitimately or for wrongful purposes and reasons. Your reaction when you get angry, and it's a natural thing for a person to get angry, when you hear something being associated with you wrongfully, that which you haven't done or haven't said wrongfully being associated with you is going to naturally bring anger to you. You would want to clarify this, that this is not something which I said, or it's been taken out of context, for example. So with that, naturally, it'll bring some sort of anger to you. So it says, ضَبْطُ النَّفْسِ عَنْ حَيَجَانِ الْغَضَبِ. That moment when you're able to control your desire from the disturbance caused by the anger is called hilm. That's one explanation of it. Number two, it says, al-hilmu huwa at-tathabbutu fil umur. Hilm means being steadfast in one's affairs. That means when you're constant, when you're steadfast, nothing shakes you, nothing comes in between as obstacles do come about, but you're able to tackle those obstacles and you continue on with the same firmness that you had started off in the beginning. That is also called hilm. The second tafsir of hilm is in regards to everything and not just anger. While the first one was exclusively in defense of an anger, the second one is more encompassing, more generalized than the first one. So with that said, steadfastness and patience for reaching the reality. Sixth Imam Jafar as-Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam said, hilm is a sign of aql, and opposite of that is foolishness and impudence. So hilm is normally and usually and more than likely seen in those who are possessor of aql. It's usually foolish who lose this and they react to these things. And this is according to the Kalam of 61. They say one shouldn't make decisions when angry and advise one another when they're angry, because the advice that you're getting when you're angry or decisions that you're taking when you're angry are the most costly decisions of your life. You know, when you end up making decisions due to the rashness, due to, you know, being in a rush of just doing something because something has happened, those are one of the worst, you know, decisions that you may make in your life. So it's important that a person calms down, brings the anger down, and then makes the decision. In a hadith from Amir al-Mu'mineen, it has come that Qambar, the servant of Amir al-Mu'mineen, once he was insulted by a naive person. And after the insult that Qambar had received, he became angry and wanted to reply, to which Imam said this. He said, Mahlan ya Qambar, da' shatimaka muhanan nurd ar-Rahman wa tuskhatu ash-shaytan. And then the rest of the hadith. Imam said, slow down, Qambar. Mahlan, mahlan. Calm down, slow down. I don't need to respond to this. Why? Imam gives the reason. He said, let go of the person who insulted you in order to please your Rabb and anger shaitan. When you let go of the insult that this person has done, which is not going to go ahead and cause any, it's not going to be detrimental to you. It's not going to go ahead and bring your honor down. It's not going to go ahead and cause, of course, if it was something which was bringing your empire, your estate, and it was causing some sort of physical and financial harm, then yes, you have means to, counteract. But when none of these things are happening, this person walking by, a naive person, insulted you for no reason, he said the best remedy and the best way to react is to let go the one who insulted you in order to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and displease shaitan. What could be a bigger result than that? This punishment is better for this individual, which satisfied Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with hilm and dissatisfied shaitan by remaining quiet. The best punishment for an impudent is also to remain quiet. You know, a lot of times people are just looking to get a reaction out of you, trying to get under your skin so that they can get the best and the worst from you. See, when people are put into difficult situations, only the best and the worst of them comes out. But when things are going normal, you don't really see the reality of insan. That's why one of the ways of testing one is by traveling with them. You travel with them, you find out that how that person is really. Why? Because when they are at home, they're at ease, everything is in their access, you don't really see the reality of that individual. The moment they are out of their comfort zone, right away, you'll be able to see how they become panicked by small little things, how they lose control, how anger comes about, and lack of hilm also is seen. In this sermon, hilm is mentioned after ilm. Ulama, atqiya, that Imam mentions, Amir al-Mu'mineen, suggests that efficiency of knowledge alongside tarbiyat is not possible without forbearance. So we know the concept that ilm itself is not sufficient. Ilm and ta'aleem and tarbiyat both go hand in hand. So you also have to have this nurturing, providing. Otherwise, anyone can grab a book and read and become knowledgeable. Unless it's done with tarbiyat of ustad and a teacher teaching these things properly. That's why we spend all the money, go to schools, so that we can learn from a teacher, professor. You know, there's this relationship that is developed there, and all the tarbiyati aspects that are given at that point. It mentions over here that it is not possible without forbearance. Why? Because Prophet Islam, Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Ma jumi'a shay'un ila shay'in afdalu min ilmin ila ilmin." No two things been put together better than hilm and ilm. If there was any combination of two things being in line with each other, it's ilm alongside with forbearance, knowledge alongside with forbearance. That's why the real way of telling someone is knowledgeable is to be able to see how forbearing that individual is. But if the arrogance continues even after attaining all the knowledge in the world, then that person is lacking, might be very knowledgeable, might have multiple masters and PhD degrees, but yet, nothing to show for, because the ilm is lacking in that individual. Ilm has not been able to bend this person's ego down. Ilm has not been able to make this person humble. I gave this example, I think, before as well. The first revelation of Quran, Iqra. The last ayat of Surah Alaq, Sajda. What is the connection? Read, attain knowledge, and be humble and prostrate to your Rabb. Because ilm should not make you arrogant. Oh, I don't need to do ibadat. I don't need to worship. I don't need to do sajda. This is all for those who don't have any knowledge. Let them, the juhala, should go ahead and worship. This is not for the knowledgeable people. He said, no, iqra wasjud. Read, attain knowledge, and then you should have enough to go ahead and prostrate in front of your Rabb. And that is the utmost level of ilm. And of course, alongside with it, humbleness. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Alayka bil ilmi fa innahu ruknul ilm. So Imam also said, upon you is forbearance. Why? Because it is part, it's an element which cannot be removed from knowledge. From these ahadith, the role of ilm becomes very clear. That tree of ilm will not reach its potential except when it is irrigated with the water of ilm. Allah mentions his attributes in Quran, Wallahu ghaniyun halim. And also at another place, Allah said, Wallahu alimun halim. In this ayat, which I recited in the beginning of khutbah, he said, ghaniyun halim. And in this another ayat, Allah says, alimun halim. The two sifat that are going together is what? That he has ilm, he's all knowledgeable, and he's the possessor of ilm. Here's a question arises. I won't be too long. Inshallah, I'll try and finish this off within time so you guys can go back to your work, hopefully by 1 o'clock. Here's a question arises. Should we remain silent in front of the insults and forbearing them? When someone is insulting us, that's what forbearance is teaching us. We should remain silent. Is that how we should be dealing? That anytime anyone comes and insults us, we should just remain silent and be forbearing? Or reply by a fist by a fist, as some suggest as well. From another end, we read another instruction in Quran. It says, فَمَنْ اعْتَدَى عَلَيْكُمْ فَاعْتَدُوا عَلَيْهِ بِمِثْلِ مَا اعْتَدَى عَلَيْكُمْ. Surah Nisa, ayat number 194. Which is the complete opposite of what I've been preaching just thus far. It says what? If anyone transgresses against you, you may also retaliate against them to an equal extent. So, well, hold on a second. All that what you mentioned, that do not respond and do not do this, do not do that. What happened to all of that? Now you're telling us that you should go ahead and respond in the similar fashion what you have been dealt with. On the other hand, heavily it exhorts us to practice patience, and here it's contradicting itself. So therefore, someone might have an opportunity to go ahead and put together a book, taking the ayat of Quran, putting them aside, saying this ayat contradicts this another ayat of Quran. Tanaqudatul Quran, those things which are contradictory in Quran. Quran says, that the Jahannam is a very tight place. At another point it says halim talati halmim mazid. It's a very widespread place. At one point it says zikr of Allah makes you fearful. At another point it says zikr of Allah makes you satisfied. All of these ayat could be put together. Similar is this instance right here, where it's telling us to be show ilm. In fact, it says idha khatabahumul jahiluna qalu salama. When a jahil comes along and insults you or does something and argues with you, quarrels with you, says salam and move forward. And on the other occasion, it says over here, فَمَنْ اعْتَدَى عَلَيْكُمْ فَاعْتَدُوا عَلَيْهِ بِمِثْلِ مَا اعْتَدَى عَلَيْكُمْ. If one transgresses against you. So again, you might understand with the words that are being used over here, but the answer is people who stand in front of reform and progress of a society are of two types. I'll just explain these two types and inshallah I'll bring it to the end. So who you should respond and who you should refrain from responding. So not all people should be the recipient of the response. If they are doing something, if they are causing some sort of trouble, should we respond to them? What kind of type of people should be responded to, and what type of people we should not, or we should refrain from responding? So this is where the answer to this question lies. So the answer is, the question is simple. That at one point, Quran is telling us, don't, respond. Don't do anything like this. Be forbearing, show hilm, show patience. At one point here in Surah Nisa, ayat number 194 is telling us what? Go ahead and respond and retaliate in the same fashion that you have been dealt with. So two people. Number one, opposition which opposes with complete understanding. That's one group of people. Number two, naive and unaware who opposes due to their ignorance. Without even explaining, what is your immediate response? Who should you respond to and who you should refrain from responding to? Group number one, which opposes you with complete understanding. Or group number two, which is naive and unaware and is doing only out of ignorance. It's obvious. Group number one should be dealt with and responded and retaliated. While group number two, which is naive and ignorant about it, you should not deal with them in the same way. That second group should be dealt with hilm and forbearance. So from this, we understand the second group, which is the unaware and the ignorant. It shows aggression and takes negative actions and displays a sword in front of a physician. Why are you imposing these medications upon us? Why should we get the booster? Why should we put on the mask? And why should we do that? Takes up a sword and stands up in front of the physician. These people should not be dealt with difficulty or with aggression. No, these people are causing. No, they're ignorant. Teach them, inform them. That is actually better if you bring them to some sort of understanding, because they're doing it due to them being naive. In front of a person who's guiding, he breaks the lamp of guidance. One must be soft with these individuals. Taking action against them is destroying the plan of education and nurturing. Propagators must display hilm and ilm against them. If you are propagating for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to be soft with those who are naive and ingenious. But yes, the first group of people, you should go out all the way to respond to them in the best possible way that you can. The biggest example of the muballigh of all of mankind, displayed in the zat of none other than Prophet of Islam, Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. He displayed hilm throughout his life. We saw in the battle of Uhud when he was struck on his forehead and his teeth were broken and he was bleeding to the extent that enemy announced that Mata Muhammad, Mata Muhammad, Muhammad is dead, Muhammad is dead. There was this, chaos in the Muslim army. People were running left and right, running away, fleeing the scene. Of course, when your leader's death is announced, what happens? It causes chaos. Yes, Prophet did suffer a blow to the head. Teeth were broken. He was bleeding because he wasn't one of those people who stayed back and let people fight. He was in the battlefield as well. But this is where Amir al-Mu'mineen, to quiet all these people down and to respond to those who were fleeing and running away, picked up Rasulullah in his hands, raised him up high so that people can see and say, Hada Muhammad, Hada Muhammad. People say, Mata Muhammad, Mata Muhammad. Amir al-Mu'mineen respond by saying, no, Hada Muhammad, Hada Muhammad. This is Muhammad, this is Muhammad. He's not dead, he's still alive. The response to this Hada Muhammad was given by Rasulullah on the day of Ghadir when he said, Man kuntu mawla fahada Aliyun mawla, by lifting Amir al-Mu'mineen on top of that member. Salawat bi Muhammad wa alim. The Prophet is struck on his forehead. His teeth were broken. He was bleeding. You know what he said at that moment? Allah destroy these people. Allah bring the severe adhab onto them. Instead, he made this dua. Allahumma ihdi qawmi fa innahum la ya'lamun. Oh my Rabb, guide my people as they do not know. They're doing this only out of ignorance. And that is the biggest example of forbearance and hilm that you can find. Inshallah, there's more discussion regarding hilm. I'll continue it at another time. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we too develop this important attribute in our life. While we are all knowledgeable, we have knowledge, we develop the concept of hilm and forbearance in our day-to-day life as well. In the hadith, وأبلغ الموعظة كتاب الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحليم الكريم غافر الذنب وقابل التوب وهو الغفور الرحيم. سبحان من سبقت رحمته غضبه ووسط اليدين بالرحمة. سبحان من لم يكلف نفسا إلا دون وسعها وعفى عن السيئات ولم يجاز بها. سبحان من لا يزداد على معاصي العباد إلا كرما وجودا ولا كثرة الذنوب إلا عفوا وصرفا. نشهد أن لا إله إلا هو لطوف على العباد بجوده وعلى الأبواب بمذنبين بعلمه. ونشهد أن محمدا نبيه وحبيبه سيد المرسلين وشفيع المذنبين بعثه رحمة للعالمين. لقد أمركم الله في محكم كتابه بالصلاة على نبيه وحبيبه فقال تعليما لكم وتشريفا للصفية إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيد المرسلين وشفيع المذنبين نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وعلى إمام المسلمين وقائد الغر المحجلين من المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وعلى سيدة نساء العالمين وبذة خاتم النبيين سيدتنا فاطمة بنت رسول الله صلوات الله عليها وعلى الحسن المجتبى والحسين الشهيد بكربلاء وعلي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى محمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي عليهم الصلاة والسلام. اللهم صل على مولانا صاحب الزمان ما هي آثار البدء والطغيان هادم أبنية الشرك والنفاق حاسد الفرو والبغي والشقاق صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وعلى آبائه الكرام اتصلت الليالي والأيام. اللهم عجل فرجا وسهل مخرجا واكحل ناظرنا بنظرة منا إليه واجعلنا من المستشهدين بين يديه وتفضل على أمراء المؤمنين بمزيد التوفيقات وازدياد الإقبال وعلو الدرجات. اللهم افعل بنا ما أنت أهله ولا تفعل بنا ما نحن أهله بجاه محمد وآله المعصومين صلوات الله عليهم أجمعين. اللهم اجعلنا ممن يذكر فتنفع الذكر ان الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا حجة الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله. الله أكبر الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يسبح لله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض الملك القدوس العزيز الحكيم هو الذي بعث في الأميين رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة وإن كانوا من قبل لفي ضلال مبين وآخرين منهم لما يلحقوا بهم وهو العزيز الحكيم. ذلك فضل الله يؤتيه من يشاء والله ذو الفضل العظيم. مثل الذين حملوا التوراة ثم لم يحملوها كمثل الحمار يحمل أسفارا بئس مثل القوم الذين كذبوا بآيات الله والله لا يهدي القوم الظالمين. قل يا أيها الذين هادوا إن زعمتم أنكم أولياء لله من دون الناس فتمنوا الموت إن كنتم صادقين ولا يتمنونه أبدا بما قدمت أيديهم والله عليم بالظالمين. قل إن الموت الذي تفرون منه فإنه ملاقيكم ثم تردون إلى عالم الغيب والشهادة فينبئكم بما كنتم تعملون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون. فإذا قضيت الصلاة فانتشروا في الأرض وابتغوا من فضل الله واذكروا الله كثيرا لعلكم تفلحون. وإذا رأوا تجارة أو لهوا انفضوا إليها وتركوك قائما قل ما عند الله خير من اللهو ومن التجارة والله خير الرازقين. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. وربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار بجاه محمد وآله الأطهار. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العالى وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العالى وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته يقوم ويقعد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. ربنا أفرغ علينا صبرا وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين بجاه محمد وآله الطاهرين. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضعيف. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر.
إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
تسبيح كلام الله سلام الله عليك. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. استغفر الله الذي لا اله الا هو الحي القيوم الرحمن الرحيم ذو الجلال والاكرام واتوب اليه. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن بوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك توعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
Let's recognize the sponsors for today's Jummah lunch. It is the family of Mr. and Mrs. Zaidi.
please recite Surah Al-Fatiha for their deceased relatives as well as yours. Surah Al-Fatiha. Just a reminder that when you're coming, as you know, in case of the rise again, when you sent out this email, continue reminding that make sure that you are practicing all the rules that are in place when attending in person. And also making sure that if you're sick or not feeling well, refrain from coming to the masjid. All of these programs are online, so you can easily take part in it as well. Refrain from shaking hands and hugging after the events. Whatever role that you can play in stopping the spread of this new variant. With that said, two announcements quickly. Number one, tomorrow there will be an online third session actually. The Masjid-e-Ali Youth Group presents a workshop or discussion with Dr. Ashwani under the title of Addicted to Social Media. That program tomorrow, Saturday, January 15th, starts at 1 p.m. So this is only online. Log on to the Masjid-e-Ali YouTube channel, and your questions will be taken on from the YouTube channel. Also, tomorrow in the evening, there is an Isali Sawab Majlis for the Jiblum of Marhum Sayyid Amin Abbas, Ibn Dr. Sayyid Al-Heather. Inshallah, that will also be taking place online, not in person. It will be online on through Masjid-e-Ali YouTube channel. The starting time is after Namaz al-Maghrib at 5:30. So the program will start roughly around 5:30 with Surah Yasin and inshallah so Salam Marsiya, and I will be inshallah addressing that majlis as well. So these two programs for tomorrow, Saturday, January 15th, keep that in mind, put it in the calendar, 1 o'clock and 5:30 tomorrow. Also, there's a request for dua sehat for all those people who are in need of dua, those who are suffering, struggling, those who are time. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring them out of difficulty, especially the request for dua shifa for Sayyid Muhammad Mushir Nahwi. Please recite this ayat from Surah Naml together 5 times. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Amma yujibu al-mutarra idha da'ahu yakshifu as-su'. Amma yujibu al-mutarra idha da'ahu yakshifu as-su'. أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء ويجعلكم خلفاء الأرض إله مع الله قليلا ما تذكرون. Tomorrow being Saturday and Sunday, inshallah, the following day, we will have Fajr Namaz here in Masjid-e-Ali at 6 a.m. or by Quran recitation and tafsir of Quran and hot breakfast. And similarly on Sunday, we'll have Salat al-Fajr at 6 a.m. followed by Dua Sabah, Day of Ashura, and hot breakfast, inshallah, following that. So if you can make it early in the morning, 6 a.m., you're more than welcome to join for all of these programs. Sallallahu alaihi wa sallam. الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا حجة الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله صلاة الأساس الله أكبر الله أكبر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقوم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. ربي أدخلني مدخل صدق وأخرجني مخرج صدق واجعلني من لدنك سلطانا نصيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بحول الله وقوته يقوم ويقود. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته يقوم ويقعد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضعيف. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
إن الله ملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل اللهم صل على محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم الرحمن الرحيم ذو الجلال والإكرام. وأسأله أن يتوب علي توبة عبد ذليل خاطئ فقير باعث مسكين مستكين مستجير لا يملك لنفسه نفعا ولا ضرا ولا موتا ولا حياة ولا نشورا. اللهم إني أعوذ بك من نفس لا تشبع ومن قلب لا يخشع ومن علم لا ينفع ومن صلاة لا ترفع ومن دعاء لا يسمع. اللهم إني أسألك اليسر بعد العسر والفرج بعد الكرب والرخاء بعد الشدة. اللهم ما بنا من نعمة فمن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا نبي الله، السلام عليك يا حبيب الله، السلام عليك يا خيرة الله، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته، السلام عليك يا عبد الله، السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك وعلى جدك وأبي وعلى أمك وأخيك ورحمة الله وبركاته. زيارة المدني. السلام عليك يا عزيزة الزهراء، السلام عليك يا أم البذور السواطع، يا فاطمة بنت حزام الكلابية المكنى بأم البنين ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا غريب الغرباء، السلام عليك يا معين الضعفاء والفقراء، السلام عليك يا شمس الشموس عنيس النفوس، أيها المدفون بعرضة سرير بمصر ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا صاحب العصر والزمان، السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان، السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن، أجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله مخرجك وظهورك وجعلنا من أعوانك وأنصارك ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد يا رسول الله يا